Good afternoon and welcome to the Raucous Blum Computer Consulting Monthly Webinar Series. My name is Kelly Bergman and I have the pleasure of introducing you to Jordan Smithers, VBCC's Sales and Solutions Consultant on our Sage Intacct team. Today she's going to be going over the powerful reporting and dashboards offered in Sage Intacct, and I'm going to let her take it from there. She's the expert.
Thanks, Kelly. Good afternoon, everybody, or morning, depending on where you're at. Yes, to Kelly's point, we're going to be talking about reporting and dashboards within the Sage Intacct software. So I'm going to go through a couple slides and then we will hop into the software. All right. So here's our agenda for today. Like I said, we'll do a quick little overview of Sage Intacct, go through a demonstration of the software, and then answer any questions that we have at the end. So what is Sage Intacct? So Sage Intacct is a standalone accounting software. It's not an add-on module to your existing ERP, full-blown, like I said, accounting software, AP, AR, GL, all that good stuff. Intacct was founded with the name Internet plus accounting and put those together and you get Intacct. It was founded back in 1999. It is a cloud native software, so no need for a physical server or hosting or any of that goofy stuff. It is born in the cloud and will remain there. So also, it is the only accounting software that's endorsed by the AICPA, essentially meaning that CPAs love the software and have put their blessing on it. So very powerful software. Some key features and functionalities of it. Again, I mentioned cloud, so it is a cloud native software. You can see that, it comes in, it can specialize in many different industries, from healthcare, hospitality, nonprofit is a huge one, also construction and real estate. The basis of Sage Intacct is all around dimensions, and we'll talk a little bit about what dimensions are, but really just allows for slicing and dicing of your reports, your data, and your individual transactions. All of the data in Sage Intacct is real time. So gone are the days that we're waiting for a batch to post. As soon as you enter that AP bill or, post that journal entry, all of your data is updated real time. Because Sage Intacct is cloud native, it has open API framework that integrates seamlessly with other third-party solutions. So, for example, Salesforce CRM, ADP payroll, possibilities are endless. There's a whole marketplace dedicated to all of the different third-party options that Intacct can integrate with. So within the core pieces of the software, we have, like I mentioned, AP, AR, GL. You also have order entry, purchasing, and then bank reconciliation or cash management. Lots of different add-on modules are available as well, like fixed assets, inventory, multi-entity and global consolidation. So the important thing to just know about Sage Intacct is it can grow with your business. So you're not limited to, really any one single company code or anything like that. So that's just my background on the Sage Intacct software, kind of what it can do. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it here now. So let me just pull up my instance here. And I will share here. All right, so here is Sage Intacct. As you can see, I'm in a web browser. I'm using Google Chrome. You can use any web browser of your choosing. Really allows you to access the software from anywhere that you have an internet connection. So you could use, your MacBook, you could use your tablet, you could use your desktop PC, whatever your device of choosing and your browser of choosing is. There's a specific user ID, password and company ID that you will be assigned to. You can set multi-factor authentication and all of that good stuff. So it's not like anybody can just, Google your Intacct instance. It's very, very secure. As you can see, when I logged into the Sage Intacct software here, I landed directly on a dashboard. So I'm using a dashboard called Cash Analysis. And it's a more straightforward kind of honed in dashboard just around cash, but I think it's kind of a good, simple place to start here. As a user, I can set my preferences on what I see when I log into the software. So for example, in here, I'm using the cash analysis. Maybe I'm an AP manager. I could choose a specific AP dashboard. Maybe I work in inventory. I have an inventory control dashboard. All sorts of possibilities. And again, as a user, you can choose kind of your home page of sorts. All of our dashboards and reports, for that matter, are permissionable. So obviously somebody in inventory would not have access to a cash analysis dashboard. So very, customizable in that sense at a company level that allows you to just streamline your users to what they need to see and nothing else there. So as I mentioned, I landed on this dashboard here. Sage Intacct comes with hundreds of reports and quite a few dashboards right out of the box. So this one, is one that you could start with, and then you can easily customize these, which we'll look at today. So along the top here, I have some performance cards that are just simply showing me a quick little snapshot of, for example, my operating cash flow and my cash balance. They have conditional formatting, cute little icons here saying my cash balance is up. If it was down, I could have a red arrow. Really kind of helps me look and draw my eyes to where I need attention. These performance cards are quote unquote drillable. You can drill into them. So I can click this performance card and then I can see the supporting details of that. I have all of my numbers rounded here, right? But can see my different checking accounts and all my cash equivalents and investments that make up that snapshot that I'm seeing on my dashboard. From here, I can actually drill into that one step further, see what's, making up that cash balance based on my bank rec and cash receipts and all of that good stuff as well. Back to my dashboard, I have, if I'm scrolling down here a little bit, I have a couple different reports or graphs. So again, out of the box, I can have, a line graph here. I could have a pie chart. I could have a donut graph, all sorts of different, again, out of the box graphs. And you can see, again, as I hover over, I see the dollars that make up these balances, or I can click show data to see the numbers that make up that graph. So again, kind of a drillable in a sense there as well. I can scroll down here and I also pinned a couple reports. So I have a cash flow statement displaying on my dashboard. And again, anything in blue is drillable. So I can look and see, what makes up this $47,000. I can click that, drill into it there. And then I'm seeing all of my data displayed for that specific GL account in a report type format. As I scroll up to the top of my report, right now I have my report backdated. So all of my data lives back in 2018, good data anyways. So I can change that date. I can set it to a default date. It can be any date. And I know that this is valid as of 2018. Intacct allows us to backdate, and we'll look at that on a report as well. But I can also filter this dashboard to only see data for a specific location or a specific entity / company. So I could filter to a specific company. I also have locations here, and I also at the top here have created groups of locations. So maybe I oversee the Iowa locations and I just want to see this report filtered just for the Iowa locations. I choose that location and I click apply, and my dashboard is updated within seconds, right? And so now I'm only honed in to data that really makes an impact on my Iowa locations here. So just lots of quick and easy features and functionality that Intacct allows you to do here. I'm going to grab one other dashboard. I'm going to choose a role-based dashboard for our controller. So a little bit more of a, I'm going to call it robust report here, and lots more information on the screen in front of me. So I still have those KPI cards, right? And so I'm still able to see all of my quick snapshot, my expenses, my AP, my AR, etc. I have due to and due from capabilities within the Sage Intacct software as well. So intercompany transactions, I guess, is a better way to describe that. But again, all of these are drillable. On this dashboard, I have some additional ways that I can filter and run it. So I still have that locations one in the middle, right? But I also have departments and classes. So this kind of leads me to what I had mentioned before in the PowerPoint, that Sage Intacct really thrives on dimensional based accounting. And so in Sage Intacct, you will still have your true chart of accounts, right? So you'll still have your natural account number, but you may be used to a segmented chart of accounts now, where you have your natural account number dash 2 digits dash 2 digits, and those segments represent maybe a department, maybe a location, maybe a product line, right? In Sage Intacct, we call those segments dimensions, and our chart of accounts is not tied to having those segments in them anymore. So I'm able to really simplify my chart of accounts with just my natural account numbers. And then as I'm entering transactions like an AP bill, for example, I would have maybe my, office supplies expense account, but then I can optionally choose to tag it to a specific department. Okay, I bought office supplies for my sales team. I bought office supplies for my marketing team. Sales and marketing could be my departments, for example. I could have groups of departments as well. So maybe business advisory is a department, computer consulting is a department. So again, I'm not tying that department or that segment to my natural account number, but I'm tagging it on my transaction. And then that allows me to slice and dice my data on any report or dashboard by that department. So department is a dimension, location, class, customer, vendor, item. And then you also have user-defined dimensions that you can add in optionally as well if you need more of those for more robust reporting and data tracking as well. So looking back at my dashboard here again, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. Couple different things on this controller dashboard that I did not see on my cash analysis were more kind of informational type things. So maybe not reports or KPIs so much, but I'm able to see, I want to be able to see on any given moment where my open and closed periods are essentially. So I can see my general ledgers closed through 2023 in November, excuse me. AP is through March 31st of this year. So I'm doing good there, right? And so I can just kind of see a little snapshot, right? So it helps me know where my things are at. I can also have checklists in my Sage Intacct software, and these checklists can be something like you're seeing here, month end. Maybe I have some tasks that I need to do in the software and outside of the software. Maybe I have tasks that I want to assign to other employees. Maybe I need, AP to confirm all of the receipts are in. It can be something as simple as that. And I can have on my checklist, okay, my AP manager is Susan, and I need to check with Susan on the 2nd of every month to make sure she has all of her receipts or what have you, right? So very hypothetical scenario, but you can leverage the checklist, like I said, for things outside of the system as well, like maybe onboarding, right? So we hire a new employee. These are all the things I need to do, the areas that I need to set them up in Sage Intacct, in Outlook, in, et cetera, et cetera. In the middle of my screen here, I have a profit and loss report, and it's actual versus budget. And we've got all sorts of conditional formatting on here. So again, my eyes are drawn, and I can set these too, right? So if it's over X percentage of my budget, then flag it in red. If it's under, maybe it's 52%, right? Because some of my totals are aren't being flagged here, but if it's over a certain percentage, then I don't need to have that formatting, or it can be green or yellow or what have you. So again, just kind of helps you see and draw your eyes to where you want to see that. On the far left, or excuse me, right hand side here, I've got another cash trend balance graph. So just another version of a graph. I can see multiple lines on here per checking account. Got a little financial ratios section here, and then I have an approval section. So throughout the Sage Intacct software, within purchasing, accounts payable, timesheets, and general journal entries, we can set approvals. So meaning maybe I can enter a purchase order, but I can't submit it to a vendor if it's over $5,000. My manager needs to approve it first. Or maybe I am that manager and my employees send me the purchase. They don't really have to send anything. We set up the approval, right? But they submit the purchase order for me to then approve. I can do that, like I said, on purchasing, journal entries, timesheets, and then accounts payable as well. And so I can see from my dashboard here that I have a purchase order that I need to approve, decline, and so forth. So right from my dashboard here, I can click my little magnifying glass. If I had multiples, I would be able to see it. And I can see that purchase order. I see the vendor. I can go view it, see more details about that purchase order. Okay, what are we buying? How much does it cost? And then I can approve or decline it from here. Can also just approve and decline it right from this initial screen as well. So I can say, yep, go ahead, submit that purchase order. If I'm not in the software and I don't see it on my dashboard, I also get an email notification. So just know that, yes, you're probably in the software all day, every day, but some of us live and breathe in Outlook too, right? So we can set that preference as well. Lots of things visually on the dashboard there. I'm going to go through and edit a dashboard now. So best practice is to always take the original dashboard and duplicate it before you make any changes. That way, if you really do, want to go back to what it was, you have that original version, I'm going to say preserved. So to duplicate a dashboard, it's as simple as clicking this little, it almost looks like the copy and paste icon. It's called cloning the dashboard. And so when I click that, it just asks me for a new name. So I'm just going to call this, controller revised. When I'm setting this up, I can choose how I want this dashboard to be grouped. So I'm putting it in the group of my role-based dashboards. I can create a new group. I have a general section. I have a quick start section. You can kind of create little filing cabinets for your dashboards on how that makes sense. On the next tab here, I have filters. And so that's essentially how I'm running this dashboard. So I have my as of date, and then I can choose up to 3 different dimensions. So maybe I don't want to run it by class anymore, and I want to run it by customer instead, just an example. So then I can choose that instead. And then the last tab here is permissions. And so what I'm seeing here is that I'm allowing people that are in the everyone group access to this dashboard, and I'm denying anyone in the non-admin users group. So you would set up groups and roles for your users as you're implementing the software, and can pick and choose. Maybe you'll have a finance group or just a controller group, right? So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and this is going to create that controller revised dashboard for me. I'm going to choose that one from my list here, and now I can go edit this one any way that I see fit. I'm going to first start by just showing you how quick and easy it is to delete any of these KPIs. Just saying you're deleting it, it's removing it. Are you sure? Yes, go ahead. And I can just click on all of these and just delete them. Maybe I don't need to see, intercompany revenue and due tos and due froms. I'm only one entity, or it's just irrelevant to me. I don't need to track that personally as the controller, which probably isn't true, but neither here nor there, right? So now I've deleted those. My dashboard's updated. Simply put, I can also add components to this dashboard. So I'm just going to click the little plus in the top right-hand corner here to add a new component. So I'm going to choose to add another report. Maybe I want to see my balance sheet. So my component type, you can see here, am I creating a chart? Am I adding another performance card, report? We also have just a record, any smart links, collaboration feeds, etc. So report is what I'm going to choose. And then I'm going to choose, is it a financial report, a report that I've created and memorized, or is it from IVE, which we'll talk about a little bit more, Interactive Visual Explorer. Then I can choose the report type that I want. Is it an analysis report, excuse me, or is it a financial statement? I'm going to choose financial statement. And then my component. So which report am I choosing? So I have a whole bunch of reports here that I can choose from. I'm just going to grab my balance sheet condensed. I'm going to leave the title as balance sheet condensed, and I want to always see it as a live view here. And then I click save, and it's going to automatically put that balance sheet report on my dashboard. It kind of just plugs it in where it thinks it should go. And then I can drag and drop it. So I can see that it positioned it over on the far left-hand side here. Maybe I want that to be the first thing that I see. I can just drag and drop. And now my balance sheet condensed report is tagged onto my controller revised dashboard. So you can see I removed a few things. I added a couple things really within probably seconds more so than minutes. And you'll get used to those, report names and all of those sorts of things. You can put calculated KPI cards up here. Maybe I want to see margin percentage, right? And so it's just getting used to the data and what's available for you and knowing which report to pull and pin from your dashboard as well. I'm going to talk about reports now, moving away from the dashboard a little bit. You can get to reports from a couple different areas of the software. So within each individual application or module, we have reports. So I'm going to choose the accounts receivable module, for example. Over on the far right-hand side, I have a list of reports. And so I have, my standard AR ledger, aging, customer list, if I have deferred revenue, et cetera, et cetera. So, and the same goes true for all of the other modules that we have listed here. All of the modules are permissionable, just like the dashboards and reports are, right? So if I'm, in AR, maybe I would only have permissions to view orders and order entry, see everything in accounts receivable, and have just my reports. Maybe I wouldn't see general ledger and accounts payable and budgets, et cetera. So it'll really hone in and allow your end users to focus where they need to. I'm going to run a customer aging report, and so I can choose to run it in a graph view or in a report view. I'm going to choose report. And when I open this report, I have quite a few different ways that I can choose to generate it. So my aging buckets will default. I can choose to run this report as of today, or I can backdate it. So I'm going to use that 12/31/2018 date. Maybe my auditor called me and said, hey, I need an aging from the end of last year. You go to your filing cabinet, you can't find it. You have searched through your assortment of reports in your file explorer that you've saved and you just can't find it. Well, the beauty of Sage Intacct is you can backdate any of these reports. So I'm going to backdate this to 2018. And it will then run it as of that date. So even if since I've had many invoices paid, right, I've received cash against many invoices since 2018, but as of this date, I will see what was outstanding in my aging report. I'm going to talk through just a few of these other filters, but I'm not going to select anything. I could, run it for a range of customers, one single customer. I could cherry pick customers. Maybe I just want to pick customer 100 and 152 and 227. I can choose which customers without having them to be in a range. Or if I'm grouping my customers by a specific type, I could say, show me all of my education customers or all of my healthcare customers. So lots of flexibility there for running on customers, but then we also get into those dimensions again. So I could run it for a specific location or just a specific department as well. The last section here is my formatting section, so I can choose to run it by customer ID. I can group it by certain things, by customer, by due date, etc. I could run my report in summary or detail, see customers with or without balances, so forth. So I'm going to just run it by my date here. And I'm going to click view to view it on my screen. You can see I could also print it. I could process it and store it. I could add it to my dashboard right from here too. So let's start by viewing it, and then we can choose if we need to run it any different way. So when I view it, I'm seeing it right here on my screen. So I'm not, opening another tab. I'm not, having to go out to Crystal to get it or anything goofy like that. It's all within the software here. And so now I'm seeing my aging report. I've got my customer ID, customer name, all of those details here. I can drill into any of these as well. So maybe I want to see what Alvin Sawyer purchased on this invoice. If I click this blue hyperlink, it's going to take me to that source transaction. So now I'm seeing that invoice record. I can see it's been paid, but as of 12/31/2018, it was not, right? And so I can see that they paid it in January of 2019. I have my customer information, terms, and then I can see what they purchased on this invoice. So we, did some consulting work for them within our assurance and accounting department. Intacct has a little feature down here called Collaborate. This is on any transaction, whether it's
Jordan,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We can't
Yep.
see what you're showing.
Oh. I'm glad you interrupted though, Kelly. So let's try this. Did that change things? Do we see invoice in the top left?
Much better. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep, good. Okay, so now I'm drilling into that end transaction. So how did I get here again, right? So let's just back up for 2 seconds. From my aging report, I clicked this dollar amount, this blue hyperlink, and that's what opened my invoice record. So I can see it's been paid. It's been paid in full after the aging date that I had on my report. So I was running it again as of 12/31/2018. This is showing on that report because it wasn't paid until 2019. So just kind of the beauty of Intacct's flexibility. As I had said, you have your customer information, terms, and then down here at the bottom is our line entry information. So what did they purchase or what did we invoice them for? We did some consulting from our assurance and accounting department. Then at the bottom of any transaction, so this is kind of where we left off, we have something called Collaborate. And so Collaborate, think of it as like tagging somebody on a Instagram post. Hey, come look at this. I think this is really cool, right? Or, hey, what's going on with this? And so this is almost, like I said, you're able to tag people. It can be a chat feature. I can tag other users in here and say, why was this tagged to department 300? And I can share this, and then it'll send Jordan, obviously I'm tagging myself, right? But it'll send whomever a notification, and they can come back in and reply, you're right, actually, maybe I should have looked at this more closely. And if the period is open still, they could reclassify that department. Or they could say, oh, because I went on site and I thought I was going to be consulting on this, but it turned out to be more accounting related things. I know we normally do department 200, but my services were different this time, right? So Collaborate is a free feature within Sage Intacct. And like I said, it's on really any transaction. And it lives with this record. I'm going to close out of this invoice record and go back to my report here. From my report now, I could customize it and run it in another way. I could print it. I could email it to somebody outside of the software. So I had mentioned maybe my auditor was asking me for a copy of this report. Since maybe I didn't give my auditor access to Sage Intacct, I could click this email button and it would then create an email with this as a PDF attachment, and I can email it out to them. Or like I said, I can add it to my dashboard. I can memorize it. If I put a whole bunch of different filters and criteria in here, I could say, I want to memorize this report, and all of those, I chose a customer and a department and a location and, lots of different filters. Or I could export it to Excel or CSV. All of these features are within the software, regardless of the report that you're running. So lots of abilities there for you to just view it or, send it out wherever else that I need to. I'm going to show a couple reports within our general ledger area as well. So from general ledger, again, on the far right-hand side, I have all sorts of different reports here. Account balances, I have my trial balance, or I'm going to go into this general ledger report here and think of this as like our detail general ledger. I'm going to, you can choose, again, I'm going to just scroll here. You have filters upon filters on how you can run this report. So really the combinations of the ways that you can generate reports is infinite of sorts. Intacct comes with a whole bunch of reporting periods just out of the box. So I have my current month, my prior quarter. As I scroll down, I have inception to date, show me everything. Specific month end dates. You can see that this list is long and it just continues and continues. So if I didn't want to have to pick a specific date range, I could just say, show me my current quarter or what have you. I can run it as of a specific date, or I'm going to choose to just pull some data for just a date range. So I can plug in whatever date range I want, and I'm able to run my report on those dates. In my filter section here, this is where I'll do most of my filtering. I could pick a specific GL account, a range of GL accounts, or like I had mentioned before, I can cherry pick specific GL accounts. So when I was running my aging, I could cherry pick specific customers. Here, since I'm running a GL report, I can cherry pick specific GL accounts. I also could choose to run it by a specific account group. So I'm going to choose to run it for my revenue GL account group. So this is going to take all of my revenue GL accounts that I have in the system and generate the report regardless of the account number, because I've tagged those GL accounts as a revenue account. When I scroll down here, now I'm in my dimensional filters section. So as I mentioned, we have department, we have location, we have class, customer, vendor, etc. Maybe I want to run a GL detail report for revenue, but just for a specific customer. So I'm going to choose my customer, Riley Dawson. As I scroll down here, I could filter out other, dimensions here too. Maybe I wanted to choose Riley Dawson, but they purchased so many things. I could pick a specific item or a specific project as well. And then down here, I've got my formatting section. So what dimensions do I want to see displayed on the screen? I'm choosing location, department, class, customer, vendor, and item. If I wanted other information displayed in my report, like warehouse ID, all I need to do is click it and it adds it to my list. I'm going to take that off because it's irrelevant in this scenario, but just know that we can quickly add, and these are essentially columns on my report here. I have other filters showing detail versus summary, activity or not, so forth. I'm going to leave my filters how they are. So I'm viewing my GL detail just for my Riley Dawson customer for my revenue GL account. And when I view this to my screen, I'm getting my information again, really within seconds. I can see in October and December of 2018, I billed Riley Dawson 3 different times. I can see I billed him for a shower chair and some transportation. So maybe I delivered that to him and it was pretty expensive, right? And so I can again drill into this end transaction if I want to take a look at it, see that invoice, and see that I billed them for that shower chair. I can cancel out of this transaction and it takes me right back to my report. And so again, I can view it, print it, email it, etc. And it really just allows me to drill into those source transactions right from there. I can customize this again and I can see maybe I want to just look at it for a specific GL account. I can delete my account group. I can delete my Riley Dawson, and I could say, show me just for this specific GL account. I want to see, my office supplies GL account. And you can see here that if I don't know my account number, I can just type in my account name and it brings in, kind of smart finds it, right? So now I'm going to look at just my office supplies GL account for those 2 months back in 2018. And I'm seeing a whole bunch more data, right? And so lots of journal entries, a couple different accounts payable bills. And again, I can drill into those source transactions from here as well. So lots of, I'm going to say, powerful abilities to get general ledger detail reports just within, a couple filters, a couple clicks. I mentioned that we have reports scattered throughout the software, right? So within each individual module, but Intacct has said, okay, maybe that's, a little cumbersome to find them all in each individual module. So let's create a report center. So in this reports area here, I have a reports center. And this really takes all of those reports that we have within the individual modules and puts them all in one single area. So I'm just going to filter so we can see that. So this is where I will see all of my hundreds, honestly, of out-of-the-box reports that Sage Intacct offers. I can scroll and I can scroll and I can scroll, right? And I'm going to continue scrolling. But this just goes to show, the robustness of the reports that you do get out of the box within Intacct. You can filter these reports to see a specific, module, show me all of my accounts payable reports. Maybe this is easier than going to the accounts payable module and going that way, right? I can do the same thing for, consolidations. You can see all of my consolidation reports. I also have an area that if I just choose all, that I can favorite reports that I'm going to run often and always. And so that's what the little yellow star indicates here. So if I come to this favorites tab, now I'm seeing just reports that I have favorited by, module or application. And it really just kind of helps me hone in and say, okay, I know that these are the reports that I'm going to run each and every day, week, month, etc. I'm going to start by showing you this profit and loss actual versus budget. So we did see this on our dashboard earlier. This is just asking me how I want to run this. I'm just going to leave my date in there. And I'm seeing that same report that I saw on my dashboard. Little, more focused, right? Since I'm not seeing everything else on my dashboard, I'm just seeing this report here. Again, just like from my dashboard and my other reports, I can click into any of these numbers and it will show me the details that support that. And this was my budget column. So now I'm seeing the budget that makes up that cost of goods, medical supplies. I can also collapse these account, sections here. And then I'm seeing just a very condensed profit and loss actual versus budget. I don't want to see any of the details for it. I just want this little snapshot. But again, I can expand any of these just by the click of my mouse and see all of the details that make up each section there. Again, I can print this, put it into Excel, email it, so forth. I'm going to also look at this P&L expanded by time. And I just like that you can see it expanded each column by month. And so really just allows you to see those columns in more of a time sense fashion, right? And so I can see again all of my GL accounts, but then my columns are for each individual month. So the consolidated with my actual versus budget was great, a quick snapshot, but I want to see it expanded out column by column. And I could do the same thing by quarter. I could run it for 5 years and just have each year displayed here, so forth. I'm going to close out of this again. And one other thing I just want to mention, anytime I'm running a report, you can see it's just opening a new tab in my web browser, and I'm still in my Intacct software. I'm not taking up, an extra license or anything like that. Let's actually backdate this report as well. And it's just very easy. So here I'm running a report for my top 10 customers by revenue. So I see that Van Buren County Hospital, they have, almost $900,000 in revenue. And I have this nice little visual representation of the last 12-month trends, back in 2018, right? But I can see, our revenue was up and down, and now we're just growing, right? And so it's just, again, it's so simple, but it's so straightforward. If I had to go into a board meeting and they're saying, hey, who are most of your sales with? Who are you selling to these days? I can have this and say, Van Buren and Broadway Lands and Medicare Part A and C and so forth, right? So it's just a nice little visual representation, and you can say the beginning of the year might have been a little rocky, but we're on the up and up now. I showed you a few reports here. Let's go through and just edit one of our reports. So I'm going to choose our balance sheet detail to edit. So as I scroll over to the right here, there's this edit button. And so I can click edit, and it's going to put me in my financial report writer. Again, I am in the Intacct software. I'm not in Power BI. I'm not in Crystal Reports. It's all, and this financial report writer comes out of the box with your Sage Intacct purchase as well. So I'm taking my balance sheet detail. I could duplicate this report and call it, balance sheet detail 2.0, and then make any changes that I want to here. I'm going to talk through these rows over on the far right-hand side here. And this really is like step 1, step 2, step 3. It walks you through the steps to edit or create a brand new report. So the first tab here is our report info. What is my report name? It's my balance sheet detail. It's a financial statement. I'm saying it's, report audience is auditors. And so I could choose, is it a board? Is it management? Is it, my end users, right? There may be metrics that I want to display to everyone, and you can choose. These are all customizable. You make up, types and audiences that make sense to you. This report is obviously active. If it wasn't, I could inactivate it. Maybe I've made a new version and I just don't want this one out there anymore. I can then go to my step 2, which is rows. So what rows do I want to see displayed? I'm going to leave the rows as they are. However, maybe I want to see everything consolidated right from the get-go. So I don't need to see the details. I'm going to choose to automatically consolidate everything in my assets and liabilities by default. In my columns, so now obviously these are my columns that are going across the page, I have my actual column, my current month, another current month, but 1 prior period, current month, 2 prior periods, current month, 3 prior periods. Maybe I want to add another column for 4 prior periods. I'm just hovering over my column and I'm just saying, do I want to add a column to the left or add a column to the right? Or do I want to move this whole column over or remove it altogether? So I'm going to add another one to the right. When I add another column, it opens column 6, right? And so what is this column type? It's an actual. It could be a statistical account. It could be a computation. It could be my budget, etc. So all sorts of different options here, but I want to see actual, and I want to see my reporting period is my current month, but my offset, I'm adding another column here, is for prior periods. I'm going to leave my column headings all the same. I could have my column title, say for prior periods. I'm just going to leave that blank for right now. I can filter by specific dimensions. I could say, expanded or not, show it as a number or as an average. And you can put in some of those conditional formattings here as well. I'm going to go ahead and just preview this report to my screen. I'm going to preview the live version and see everything is consolidated because that's what I told it to do as the default. And I have column 6 displayed here. So I see all of that information real time right there. On my computation, so that's step 3, right? On my computations, which is step 4, I'm not going to go into crazy detail here, but just know that you have mathematical equations that you can put in here. Maybe you want to see, for example, operating expense by revenue or something of the sorts. You can add in all sorts of different computations here. On my filters tab, this is where I can essentially tell the report how I want it to prompt me to run, or those different filters. So I'm telling it always run it as of 12/31/2018 by default. I can, clear that out and say as of today. And then I can choose which dimension or dimensions it's going to prompt me on. Since this is my balance sheet, I want it to prompt me maybe by department and location. If it was an aging or a profitability by project, then I may want it to prompt me on project, for example, so I could check that off. On the format tab here, this is where I can set how this report looks, right? And so I can say, do I want negative numbers in parentheses? Do I want negative numbers with the, negative sign in front of it or after it? Am I going to round my numbers? Maybe I only want to see whole numbers or in thousands or millions. I can have my currency symbol displayed and so forth. So quick little, formatting options there. I also have another tab here for page setup and columns. This is where I can change different font types, sizes, colors. I can bold things, I can italicize things, all sorts of different options there. And then on my rows and totals, this is where I would put, my underline, my double underline, and just know all of these formatting things that you put on the report that you would view and see in Intacct. When you export that to Excel, all of those formattings go with it. So you would still have your underline and your double underline there as well. On our notation, so step 6-ish here, if I had a month and I wanted to just put a little note on that month because it was a month that we had record-breaking sales because we won a huge contract with someone, I could add a note and say, hey, won contract with, such and such hospital this month, and that's why things were so good and they paid everything up front. Or maybe I just had a bad month. Maybe it was, COVID times, right? And just say, supply chain was rough. I could not get inventory in, so I had to put all my orders on hold. That's why I didn't have a lot of, revenue that month. So it allows you the ability to tag a specific period or a specific account or what have you, and just add a little note, and then that note will display and show on the report. So when you're backdating your reports and running it and doing comparative financials over multiple years, what happened then. You don't need to go always dig it up and research. The next step here is permission. So who can see this, who cannot, who owns it. Emma created the report and she assigned it to the everyone group, but I could exclude people from this list as well. The next steps section is probably one of my favorites. It's just allows you to take this report that you just created or that you just modified and do some fun things with it. So do I want to add this report to my favorites? Sure, why not, right? So I can do that right from here as I'm creating the report, or I can click the little star next to it after I'm all done. Can also add this report to a dashboard. So we put the balance sheet on our controller dashboard. Maybe since I created this new one, I want to put it out there too. I can also schedule this report. So maybe I want to have this report run every month at the end of the month. I can click that I want to schedule it, and I can save and schedule it. I have to save it first, right? And then it allows me to, I could put in my filters if I wanted just a specific department and location, or I could say, let's schedule it. So I want at the end of this month, I want this report to run. So I'm starting it on April 30th. It never ends, but maybe I only want it to run for the next 4 months. I could say after a number of occurrences, and I could say 4, or I could, put a specific end date in there, or I could just say never, right? It's almost like you're setting up a recurring meeting in Outlook. So what are you choosing there? And then what does that recurrence look like? Is it just that one time? Or am I going to say every month, and this is what I like here, at the end of the month? And so it's just allowing me to say, every month, run this report. How am I going to run it? Am I going to email it? Who am I going to email it to? And so I can put my very own email in here. I could put, employees at vbcc.com if I wanted everyone to get a copy of this email, and I could say monthly balance sheet detail. I can say it's printable if I wanted to add, a message attached is the monthly balance sheet. I can also create groups of reports that will all go out at the same time, but this is doing it for just this one single report. So I'm going to save this, repeat interval every 1 month. I could say every 2 months, every other month, every 4 months, right? Kind of every quarter. So it's asking me to do that. And I'll say Intacct Smart, it tells you what fields are required. So I'm saving all of my changes on that report now. I can see all of the different reports that I have scheduled from this scheduled tab here. And so I can see that balance sheet detail. I can also scroll down and I can see I also have a group of board reports that I send out every month. And so I can edit my schedule on this. I could run them in that moment now as well. I can delete the schedule and so forth. So just know that is all possible there. We went through a lot of different things today, a lot of different reports, right? I showed you dashboards in the beginning, how to edit a few. We went through reports in different modules as well. And then we also looked at editing and customizing a report as well. So that wraps up my demonstration of the software, but I was going to pop back over to my PowerPoint here. So now I just wanted to talk through, now that we've seen the reports and dashboards, you're really gaining a whole bunch of, different things within Intacct. So we're increasing our productivity, you're gaining efficiencies throughout using those reports and dashboards and seeing that real-time data. Our accuracy is going to improve since our data is real-time. How is this affecting my general ledger right here and right now? Sage Intacct can automate a lot of things as well, and that will also, do both of these, increase productivity and accuracy. But with both of those things, it's really allowing our decision makers to make better and faster decisions on the company, since the data is real time and they can rely on it right from a report and a dashboard. I know Kelly was going to keep any questions for the very end, but I wanted to thank you all for your time. And if there are any questions, Kelly, we have 6 minutes or so, I think.
Either you did an amazing job, or which is what I'm going with here, because there are no questions. Are always free to reach out to Jordan or anybody on our Intacct team to ask any questions that you have at any time. We have email address as well, intacct@v-bcc.com, follows the rest of our email addresses. So feel free to send it to that, and then the whole team will get the question. Jordan, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure watching all of those reports and dashboards.
Thank you,
And
Kelly.
of course, thank you to everybody who attended. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending an hour of it with us.